is Sarah, and today we're wrapping up 2015. So today I am going to be sharing with you my favorite and least favorite things from all that I read in 2015. As I was thinking about year-end wrap-up videos and how I wanted to structure this, I was having a hard time deciding. I didn't want to just do these are my top 5 favorites or my top 5 least favorites or whatever. So what I have done is come up with several different categories of favorites and least favorites that include both books and series to individual characters and types of characters, and I'm going to be sharing all of those categories with you guys today. Before we jump into the favorites and least favorites of the year, I want to give you guys fair warning that there will be slight spoilers for the Harry Potter series, the Lunar Chronicles, and the Anne of Green Gables series. So when I get to talking about pieces from those books, if you have not read them and don't want to be spoiled, just mute until those books go away. So that we end on a positive note, we are going to start with the least favorites. Up first, my least favorite hero of 2015 was Bobby Pendragon from the Pendragon series. I'm only 3 books into the 10-book series at the moment, and I have not yet decided if I'm going to read through the entire series or if I'm going to DNF it. But in these first 3 books, Bobby is just super irritating. He is very whiny, and the way he narrates things just kind of drives me up the wall. So unless I wind up liking him a lot more in book 4, I doubt that I will be continuing the series all the way through book 10. Up next, my least favorite heroine of 2015 should come as no surprise if you watch my December wrap-up, and that is Selena Zardothian from the Throne of Glass series. I have thus far read The Assassin's Blade, which is the set of 5 prequel novellas, and Throne of Glass, which is the first book in the series, and I do not like Selena at all. I didn't like her in The Assassin's Blade, and I chalked it up to maybe the fact that I just don't like novellas, and I didn't like the format in particular, but she is super arrogant, and particularly in this book, her arrogance is not even backed up by action. She's arrogant about her abilities and her beauty and all of these other things, and arrogance is a character trait that I absolutely cannot stand in people in real life and in book characters. So, girl, you just got to go. Up next, my least favorite love interest is Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights. So I read Wuthering Heights, I believe it was either in the month of August or September. I did not enjoy it at all. I only gave it 2 or 2.5 out of 5 stars, and a big part of that is because Heathcliff is such a completely awful character, and I do not understand why people could ever think that he is someone that you would want to be romantically interested in you, because the fact of the matter is most of the terrible things that happen to the people in this book are a direct result of Heathcliff being an awful person, a terrible character, terrible boyfriend, terrible love interest, etc., and I just not a fan. Up next, my least favorite couple of 2015 was Heathcliff and Catherine from Wuthering Heights. Their relationship is completely dysfunctional from start to finish, and similar to my lack of comprehension as to why people would think Heathcliff is like a great romantic character, I don't understand why people think that the romantic relationship and the love story of Heathcliff and Catherine is at all something that you would want or would want to model after. It doesn't benefit either person, and they just, like, they make each other worse, not better, and I just, no. Go away. They can all go away. Up next, my least favorite side character is Severus Snape from the Harry Potter series. I don't care what his backstory is, I don't care about his history with James or Sirius or any of the other characters in this series. He is a terrible, terrible person. To Harry, to Hermione, to Ron, to basically everyone except Draco and Crabbe and Goyle, who are awful people in their own right. There is a very small part of me that feels a little bit bad for him when you get to the end of Deathly Hallows. On this particular reread, I was just so completely overwhelmed by the fact that he is just a terrible, terrible, terrible person. And then, yeah. Those are all my least favorite character type categories for 2015, so now we're getting into the least favorite books, starting with my least favorite new series. And again, this one should come as no surprise, but it is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know if it's completely fair to say that this is my least favorite series when I haven't finished the entire thing, but of the 2 books that I have read so far, I have given both of them 2.5 stars, which is the lowest rating that I've given any group of books, and there's really very little about this series that I have liked at all. Individual characters, the world is a little bit intriguing, but on the whole, the series is just not good. If you want to go with series I read the entirety of, my least favorite series would without a doubt be the Divergent series. It started off promising and just sort of crashed and burned at the end of it, and I did full video reviews on all 3 of the books in that series, so I will link all of those below if you want to hear my rather extensive thoughts and semi-rants about that series. Up next, my least favorite nonfiction book of the year is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. This book has been talked about in so many circles around the internet this year. Everyone is abuzz with how fantastic this book is, but nothing she really says is groundbreaking, and so much of this book is just weird and dumb. This book was not at all worth the money, and I will be unhauling it within the next couple of months. And for the last least favorite category, my least favorite fiction read of the year was The Nanny Diaries by Emma McLaughlin and Nicola Kraus. This was the one book that I gave a 1-star rating to. I read it, I believe it was in the month of August, and guys, it was terrible. The entire book just felt like one giant trope, to the point that the nanny's name is Nanny, the couple she works for are named Mr. and Mrs. X, and her love interest goes to Harvard and is called a Harvard hottie and is therefore then called HH the entire rest of the book. It was just dumb. I didn't enjoy it. Yeah, it was terrible. Terrible. That is all the unpleasantness for 2015, all of my least favorite characters, heroines, books, etc. for the year. And now we get to jump into the fun stuff, all of my favorites of 2015. The first category is my favorite animal of 2015, which is Enzo from The Art of Racing in the Rain. Enzo is the narrator for this particular book. As he comes to the end of his life, he recounts the life that he has lived with his owner, Denny, and the things that he has seen and experienced as part of Denny's family. And he's just so wise and wonderful, and I'm sure would be the sweetest dog ever. Up next, my favorite side character of the year was Minerva McGonagall from the Harry Potter series. In particular, I love her in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, like I mentioned in my December wrap-up. There are a lot of things that I dislike about this book, one of which being Dolores Umbridge, but Dolores Umbridge brings out sassy McGonagall, and I love sassy McGonagall. She has such dry wit and humor, but also clearly really cares about Harry and Ron and Hermione and the rest of the Gryffindors and the integrity of Hogwarts as a school, and she's just fantastic. Up next, my favorite friendship of 2015 is the Golden Trio from the Harry Potter series. I know, it's another answer from Harry Potter, but as I was thinking through all of the books that I read, I don't know if it was just that I didn't read a lot of books that heavily focused on friendship in 2015, or maybe it is the fact that I just finished rereading the Harry Potter series, but I love the friendship that develops between Harry, Ron, and Hermione. I love the initial beginnings of it in this first book. Also just really love how their friendship develops over all 7 books, and you see how it ebbs and flows and how their individual interactions affect the friendship as a whole. But you see in the Deathly Hallows in particular that no matter the disagreements they have, no matter their frustrations with each other, they just love each other so much, and they are there for each other no matter what, and I love it. I love everything about it. Up next, my favorite villain goes to Queen Lavanna from the Lunar Chronicles series. My little sister is borrowing my copy of Ferris at the moment, which is why I'm not holding that one up, but Queen Lavanna is truly a fantastic villain. She is evil and twisted and an awful human being, but that is what makes her a wonderful villain. And I loved her as a villain from the very beginning. She is deliciously evil and just rounds out the Lunar Chronicles in such a fantastic way. Up next, my favorite love interest of 2015 ironically comes from my least favorite series of the year, and that is Sam Cortland from the Throne of Glass series, specifically the prequel novellas, The Assassin's Blade. When I was reading The Assassin's Blade, the only thing that I really liked about the novellas was Sam, and I liked him from the very beginning, even before he actually became a love interest for Selena. Sam was sweet, he really cared for Selena, and I just loved everything about him. Up next, my favorite couple of the year is Thorn and Cress from the Lunar Chronicles. If you watch my reviews of the Lunar Chronicles and or my wrap-up for November, you know how much I fangirl over Cress and Thorn, how much I love them. They are the cutest, so sweet, so adorable. I love the two of them together. They're wonderful. They're such a fantastic couple, and I just adore everything about them. Up next, my favorite hero of 2015 is Thorn from the Lunar Chronicles. Obviously, I love him and Cress as a couple, but I also just love Thorn as an individual character. We first meet him in Scarlet, and from the moment he popped up on the page and began interacting with Cinder, I loved him. He's a little bit arrogant and self-absorbed, but in a hilarious way, and in a way that you know that it's all a facade. His humor and bravado was so wonderful and endearing, and in particular how we see him change when Cress comes on the scene, I absolutely loved. He is a fantastic character, and he's great and wonderful. I love him a lot, obviously. And our final individual category for favorites, my favorite heroine of 2015 is Katie from Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I mentioned this briefly in my December wrap-up, but Katie is fantastic. She is sassy and spunky and wicked smart, fiercely independent, and knows exactly what she wants and is not afraid to go for it. She is a fighter, but she also really cares about all of the people in her life and cares about doing what's right, and I loved her from the very beginning, and I cannot wait to see how her character continues to develop in the forthcoming books in the Illuminae files. And of course, I couldn't talk about favorite heroines without at least mentioning Anne Shirley from the Anne of Green Gables series. At this point, I've mentioned this multiple times before, but Anne Shirley is my favorite character in all of literature. I love everything about her, and it has been so delightful to start rereading the series and rediscovering Anne Shirley because she is just wonderful in every possible way. So those are all my favorite fiction categories for 2015. So now I'm going to share with you my favorite reads of 2015. To start with, my favorite reread series is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I gushed a lot over this series in my December wrap-up and gushed way less than I could have, but rereading this series for the third time reminded me of just what an absolutely incredible series this is. It is so complex, the themes, the characters, it's just, as a writer, it boggles my mind, and as a reader, I am amazed with how much more I fall in love with these characters and this story every time I read it. As I'm sure is the case for so many of you, this is a series I will be reading and rereading and rereading again for decades to come because it's just so incredible. Up next, my favorite new series should not come as much of a surprise, and that is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. As evidenced by the fact that this series contains my favorite hero, my favorite villain, and my favorite love interest, as well as honorable mentions for my favorite heroines, I loved this series. It was absolutely wonderful, so inventive, so fun, just captivating. I binge read most of the series in just a couple of days because I was so invested in the characters and the story, and I just love everything about this series. I did individual reviews on all 4 of these books, which I will link in the description below, so if you want to hear my more extensive thoughts about this series, be sure to check those out. Now for the individual books, my favorite new nonfiction book of 2015 is A Circle of Quiet by Madeleine L'Engle. This is the first book in the Crosswick Journals series, which is a set of 4 memoirs that Madeleine L'Engle wrote about life and creativity, and I absolutely adored this book. It was exquisite in every way. Madeleine L'Engle's thoughts and wisdom on life and faith and the creative process are so fascinating to read, and I truly believe that this is a book that every creative, in particular Christian creatives, can learn from, so I highly recommend checking this one out. Up next, my favorite reread of the year is Anne of the Island by L.M. Montgomery. This is the 3rd book in the Anne of Green Gables series, which is as far as I've gotten on my current reread of the series, and it is such a wonderful book. I just love this book because you really see Anne start to grapple with all of these sort of up in the clouds ideas that she's had for so long about relationships and love and romance, and this is the book where Anne and Gilbert finally get together at the end of it, and everything about that scene gives me so many wonderful feelings, and I just love everything about it. I'm going to share with you an honorable mention for my favorite book of the year before I share with you my actual favorite, and that is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This was a magical realism book about a girl named Ava Wilhelmina Lavender who is born with wings, and it was a super weird but absolutely exquisite, lovely, beautiful, wonderful story. I did a full video review of this back in October, which I will link below if you want to hear more of my gushing about it, but this is a lovely, lovely story and definitely deserves a mention. And finally, my favorite new fiction read of 2015 is Peace Like a River by Leif Enger. This book is absolutely exquisite. It follows the story of an asthmatic little boy named Ruben from the Midwest, and when his older brother is accused of murder and goes on the run, Ruben, his dad, and his older sister go after his brother and attempt to bring him home. And along the way, they learn so much about faith, family, life, and miracles, and this story is so beautifully written. The characters, the descriptions, the flow of the words, the writing, it's all just so lovely. If you are a fan of literary fiction and have not picked this book up yet, you absolutely need to pick it up pronto because it is wonderful. Well, there you have it, friends. That is my 2015 wrap up, all my favorite and least favorite things from the reading year. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned, I would love to hear your thoughts below, so please let me know. And I would also love to hear what your favorite read of 2015 was. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye! 88 books and picking favorites was hard. I should have kept better notes throughout the year of the characters that I liked and didn't like and all that jazz, so maybe I'll do that for 2016.